Okay, so let's talk about what triggers for me when I come back from something, a trip or a space that I've been in that created overwhelm triggers decluttering for me now. So whenever I go into a environment that might be overwhelmed with clutter physically, or something that has no structure to it and creates a lot of confusion mentally, um, such as being around a lot of people. So I'm a really big introvert. I do really well one on one. When you put me into a group setting, it's typically overwhelming for me. And so I just came back from 2 trips back to back. And when I came back, I was like, oh, there's so much stuff everywhere. For me, a trigger is being in a physically cluttered environment, and that includes a room full of people. Crazy, right? So, knowing what my triggers are helps me identify when it's okay and when it's not okay. And I can feel the overwhelm creeping up for me. So, I do have clinical anxiety. I have been diagnosed. I was on medication for a few years. It runs in the family. And I have been medication free for many years now. Instead, I have learned what triggers different things and how to cope with that and deal with it. And one of the things for me is making sure that I live a very simple life. I try not to overcomplicate things. If I can feel my anxiety creeping up, I remove myself from the situation. I have to set a boundary. It's really hard to do sometimes. Um, Long text messages overwhelm me. That is a trigger for me, especially if I'm in a group of people already or I'm working on something out of town and I get a long text message. This actually happened yesterday. And when that happens, it's like, no, instant no for me. I'm not reading all that, especially if it comes from someone trying to sell me something or solicit my time. And that is a hard stop boundary for me. I don't handle those very well because usually it's like that no thank you tone instead of, hey, thanks for thinking of me. I'm not available. I'm not interested. And sometimes that can cause hurt for the other person. And then I go and think about it. And I'm like, that wasn't very nice of me. I should have took a step back, thought about it, and reprogrammed my brain to be a little bit nicer instead of reacting to where it was like, oh gosh, no, no, thank you. Please, no. Because that does feel suffocating for me. So, for someone that tries to live a very simple life, I cannot control other people. I can't control the other situations. Riding a subway or a streetcar or a train or an airplane where there are lots of people, those are situations that are out of my control. What I can control is putting the earbuds in and keeping a notebook in front of me. This is a great time to do what I like to call a brain dump. And that brain dump is where you get the things out of your head right then and there. I've also done this via voice memo on my phone where I'll talk through it. I've come on here and done it before as car chats where you hear me like just kind of talk through my day. And it's really important to get those things out of your mental headspace because there's a trigger. There is something that's happening that's causing that. And to lead a company, to lead your family, you have got to have the space to breathe. So you hear me say all the time, like, create the space to breathe. This is part of that process. I had a really good friend one time. We were on a call and she had been through some trauma and some counseling. And I've used this exercise before. And then I had it retaught to me through another mental health counselor, mental health therapist. I'm not sure the correct term. And when it was taught by someone that I trusted, and then from a professional, I was like, I need to use that because it's really good. And it is to write a story about a rock. Write a story about a rock. One of them called it a rock. One of them said, write a story about a tree because they knew a tree resonated with me. Because if you've seen me with my Tree of Life or you've heard my Tree of Life story, that's why it resonates with me. If you haven't, ask. I'm happy to share. But when we think about it and we just start writing, like that's your only prompt. Write a story about a rock. Write a story about a tree. And when we do it, it seems like it's such a simple exercise. and we go through it, and then we go back and we read it, and some of them get hard, some of them get emotional, some of those get messy, and it really helps to uncover a little bit of what you're actually going through mentally, what's cluttering you up mentally. I did this in a class that I taught called Clear the Clutter. It was a workshop. It was a 5-day challenge. And the responses I got from that at the very beginning versus at the end of the 5-day challenge were two totally different responses, because we physically started clearing clutter, physical clutter, mental clutter, and emotional clutter. And emotional clutter is the hardest and the worst, and it hurts the deepest. So I wanted to come on and tell you a little bit about triggers, how that works. And I know it's a touchy subject, but if you are trying to lead your family, if you are trying to lead a company, we need to know these things. We need to know when and where to put boundaries in. I just think it's important, and not enough people talk about it, especially when we see the best version of everybody on social media, right? It's like, gosh, does she never have a bad day? Of course she does. Man, he's got all the promotions. No, he doesn't. It's what they want you to see. So keep that in mind. I am Tiffany Welch. I am the owner here at Prestige Purpose, but the most important part that I want you to remember is that I am an insight systems strategist. I am here to help you figure out the messy stuff and put things back together, just like a puzzle. I'll see you on the next one.